Hello, brothers and sisters. I want to share with y'all one of the most important things that I've learned, and it's pretty. It's incredible to me. And I learned this from the mouth of a man named Stephen Meyer. Stephen Meyer. And he's wrote a couple of really great books. He wrote Signature in the Cell, and he also wrote a book called Darwin's Doubt. These are a couple of phenomenal pieces of work to gather good science from, and it's this circle of individuals like Michael Behe, Philip Johnson, Stephen Meyer, David Berlinski, William Dembski. There's a couple of more, Douglas Axe, and I always confuse Philip Johnson's name with another individual. I can't think of it right this moment. That sound is my ice maker filling up. If y'all ever notice that psh in the background like just happened, that's my ice maker in the freezer. So these guys have captured a lot of important information, but right now what I'm going to share with you is one of the coolest things I've ever learned. And that is that there is no information in books. There is no information in dictionaries or encyclopedias. There's absolutely none. So, for example, a moment ago I wrote Stephen Meyer on the board. So, we're going to do something right here to prove the point. There's no information in books. So, if I write the word love here, there is actually zero information right here. None. If we took a microscope right now and we zeroed in on this, you would find that all there is here is the ink from this marker right here. And in the background would just be metal. Information is not something that's on pages of books. If you looked on a piece of paper at the words, you would find all there is ink. There's not information there. Information is something that's happening inside of us. That's why they say intelligent beings. Or like Stephen Meyer said, just jokingly, like quasi-intelligent beings, right? I am a quasi-intelligent being, so... This is not information. This is just symbols. If you were to analyze every part of these shapes and this ink and this board, there's no information there. Information can't be sent in an email. It can't be sent in a fax. It can't be text messaged. It can only be inside of the intelligent apparatus, I guess. So the way that they measure information is in terms of probabilities. For example, I wrote an I. Well, maybe if I had stopped there, it would have just been the word in. So if I were to say, for example, like, let's guess a word, and the only letter I'm going to give you is an I. Well, and I say it's more than one letter. Well, that doesn't really give you much to go off of. So I have something in my head right now that I'm thinking of. So, but you don't know what it is, because there's an innumerable number of I words, right? Whether we're speaking of Spanish or Latin or English, many words begin with the I or with that sound. So maybe the word I write is, again, we'll stick with the subject, and I say, in. Okay, well, is that the word? Nope, it actually has more letters. So you're like, okay, well, there's still not, like maybe like intrigue or intent or intel. My point is there's a whole bunch of words. So if I tell you that the word is intelligent, by writing all of these, we've narrowed down to one point what the idea was that I was trying to portray. And so out of all of the sea of words, so it could have been any number of words, just billions and billions of words that start with I, from all of the different languages, and we settled down to this word. That's just a mind-boggling thing. I mean, and even if we take those same letters now, and we were to just mix them up, and we had T, L, N, T, E, E, and another N, and anyways, if we had all of those same letters, there's the same number of possibilities within those letters, if I had every single letter there, as there is in this one, because it's the same amount of letters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just pretend like those are the right letters for the moment. There is an equal amount of information available here, but because we don't have a recognized pattern, this information is unintelligible. This information is intelligible. You've seen this pattern before. You've detected this pattern right here. It's like if someone said, it's raining, and that's it. You stop right there. Well, maybe you go and look outside, and you look, and you say, you said it's raining, and I looked outside, and it's not raining. And that person says, it's raining somewhere. And they look around, well, I don't see any clouds in the sky. And you're like, well, I saw on the TV it said it's raining up in New York. See, so you have to, there's specifications that eliminate all of those possibilities, because if you haven't been outside today, you don't know if it's raining here, but I could easily give you the information necessary and say, it's raining in New York. And then you know exactly what I was trying to say. So when we use language, we narrow it down. We narrow things down. And that's what we do when we define words. We narrow it. We have a narrowing of what we're signifying and what we're trying to explain. So that's just one of the mind-boggling things I've learned, is that information is not in books. It's the words that are written serve as a way of transferring as in a monument. That's why I came up with that idea that I wrote down called monumental deception. Deception. And I also wrote it as deception in monuments. So how many things get lost in the game of telephone? So whenever King James translated his Bible, they intentionally fabricated and falsified information. Like I always use the examples capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. That doesn't transfer the right information. That's just an outright lie. Just like church is an intentional fabrication because William Tyndale, who translated the Bible into English from Hebrew and Greek for the first time, because Wycliffe, he translated it from the Latin in the 4th century. So that's not the same as what William Tyndale did, because in the 13th century, okay. So in the 14th century, Wycliffe translated the Bible into English from Latin. But William Tyndale, in the 16th century, translated the Bible into English from the Hebrew and the Greek, which had never been done before. So, in these games of telephone, for example, William Tyndale, he put congregation there. He put congregation, which gathering is a more specific term. Assembly, gathering, simple terms like that. But King James in 1611, in the 17th century, put church. That's a lie. And I like to use Cain as an example because he started building cities, and it says he left a monument for his son. He named the city after his son. And that's what these people do in this world. They leave these worldly inheritance to their sons, and then their sons end up ruling over us. Businesses, government, church, even schools. They have networks of people who know each other, buddy. In the government is people. Businesses are people. Churches are people. Schools are people. We speak of these institutions like they're not ran by people. And inside of those institutions, they're ran by tradition and habit. So, these individuals are in the habit of carrying out agendas that are going to benefit them. And part of that is the deception of information. A major deception that's in the world right now that's completely been proven false, and as of the 1950s, when Francis and Crick unraveled the inner workings of DNA. So in the 1950s, the end of the 1950s, Francis and Crick unlocked the code to how DNA works, as though it's cryptic. It was hidden, and much of it is still hidden. But I believe it was Crick who wrote the sequence hypothesis. The sequence hypothesis, where he explained that the bases in the DNA were functioning like characters in an alphabet, like the letters. This narrowing of information, like we're talking about a moment ago, are like digital letters in machine code, or binary code. So what they discovered is that just like computer programmers use zeros and ones, binary code, to convey messages in computers, and they even use CAD/CAM to operate as a program that takes what programmers program into a computer, and then it interfaces and operates robotic arms in a factory to put a plane together. And the robot arms come in and maybe drill, and they'll do a tool change and flip around and come and put rivets in it maybe, or drill a hole, and then it goes down the factory line. And it, you may have seen it before on a video. But what they found out is that these A, T's, G's, and C's are functioning in the same way as the way that people were programming computers. only the DNA is far more complex than any computer program ever written. I find a very interesting correlation here that they've taken granite and superheat it, and they make their silicone wafers, and then they dope it with like arsenic, or I think it's called like boron, these different chemicals, and that's how they make these I can't remember what they call them, like holes, and it's the way that transistors work, and that's what happens in your computers. There's billions or trillions of transistors, and depending on the signal they get, it signals off or on, and those transistors are what's controlling like the different frequencies in the computer through this binary code of on and off switches. And I don't know the ins and outs of it perfectly, but I think it's funny because it says that God created man out of the dirt. So I picture it kind of interesting, just as a little, maybe just a strange correlation, that men create these CPUs, these computer processing units, out of wafers of silicone, which is superheated dirt, in essence, superheated granite, into these wafers. And it says that God created man and formed him out of the dirt. So I just think it's interesting that man would try to duplicate something like that and start creating this artificial intelligence, and kind of be following a path that seems like it's similar to, in a very minuscule, man trying to be God kind of way. So the point being here is that if you were to just find a computer and you didn't know exactly how to operate it, it would be cryptic. Everything would be hidden, and you wouldn't know exactly what it was. At first, you would look at the outside of it, and you'd be like, this has been made. And you wouldn't know anything about the inner operation of it yet, and you'd have to get in there and experiment if you had never seen one before, and you might not even figure out how it works without anybody to tell you, unless you could find some extremely intelligent people who probably could kind of operate it and figure out what it was doing. Well, in the mystery of life and finding the DNA, that's the big thing that they found, is they say, this is like machine code. So just as if you found a computer and you didn't know who made it, you would say, like, this is insane design, like something has made this. That's the idea that's being conveyed now, today, because of the functioning of the machine code within the cells. We're not just talking about humans, we're talking about all life on planet Earth, from a simple bacteria to a virus to a dog to a bird to a snail. They're all made out of the same parts. A fish, A, T, G, and C. These bases. A, T, G, and C is just the name that they gave to the bases. You could actually, if you looked at them, they would have these little designs like this. If you're a chemical biologist like if you know a lot about chemistry, you know more than I do. But they'll draw these little drawings to show you how each one of these bases is actually made chemically. And so they're actually chemicals, but it's biological chemicals. And so my point here is that all life is made out of those chemicals right there. And they're made out of, there's thousands of proteins, and there's thousands of proteins that are made out of these chemicals which align themselves on the DNA to form proteins. And you have to have an RNA polymerase that goes in there and divides the DNA and reduplicates it and keeps us alive and keeps our cells renewing and keeps us going until we procreate and have a progeny and a child to carry on the genetics. And they'll have 23 of the males and 23 of the females, and then that egg will start duplicating and doubling. It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, it's like science fiction. It's so incredibly complex. So that's a major finding. And the reason I'm conveying this right now is to show you that just as we can't actually write down information, all we can do is narrow the possibility to say in, out, and just convey these different terms for people the best we can. The same thing is what's happening in our bodies, is that our bodies are carrying out functions like a machine. They even use machine language when it comes to the cell. They say it copies. They say it transcribes. They say like transcription, copies. There's even like error correction happening in your cells. I can't remember a lot of it. It's been a while since I've actually been studying some things about science. So I just want y'all to know that there's a lot more interesting things going on in this world than what meets the eyes when you see a lot of people arguing and just these power struggles and fighting to be at the top. You can't even write down information. I mean, that was a shocking discovery when I found that out, that there's nothing informative about a book. The book is just like a medium from someone else's head to your head, or it's a medium to get information into a monument, or to write down a monument so someone else can find that monument and figure out what it's trying to convey. It would be like the Rosetta Stone. No one knew what the Rosetta Stone was trying to convey, but eventually they unlocked the mystery of the Egyptian hieroglyphs because of the Rosetta Stone, and I believe it had 3 languages on it. So there's just incredible nuances to this world and to this life, and oftentimes because of the different power struggles going on Earth, you get caught in the middle of these mutually exclusive, I'm trying to think of how to say it. You get caught in the middle of these incommensurable arguments, and you have false data coming in from multiple angles, and you have just these mutually exclusive realities, and then sometimes they're not exclusive the way they're being portrayed, and there's certain parts of it that are true that you can glean out of it. And it's so important that we just study and study and study to show ourselves approved to God, because there's not a lot of people in this world that are trying to help us. Let's face it, right? So I just wanted to help y'all understand that. I'm going to name this video Binary DNA, and I'm not exactly sure, just something about the way that information can't be written down. So I hope that this helps. I hope that you've learned something. It's a difficult thing to really convey, but I think if you understand what I've said, you'll understand how it applies to computer codes and the way that the intelligent agency is behind it. A, T, G, and C in our body serves as a good parallel and an analogy to see how intelligence was behind creating not only the human body, but all life on Earth. Plants are made out of the same A, T, G, and C. Animals, all life in the ocean, in the sky, birds. So we see that intelligence is something outside of what we can write down or capture. It's in our heads. It's in our minds. It's an incredible thing. Even though the way that the universe has been created, as in the Privileged Planet by, I never can remember his name. It's like Gomez. I can't remember how to say his name, but he has a movie and a book called The Privileged Planet, which is interesting. And it's the same thing there. He explains about how the universe is finely tuned, and you can see the same thing in it as what I'm speaking right now about language, about DNA, about computers, about sentences, and the way that you narrow this information. And you can even see it in the planets and in the stars, and the way that the universe is structured. It all shows that there's an exact design and an exact purpose. It's not chaos like they try to teach us with Darwinianism and the Big Bang, and they teach everything like it's chaotic. And take a look around this planet. The only thing that's chaotic is the fight for humans have with each other. Animals aren't doing that. Whales aren't doing that. They're just existing. They're not trying to kill each other and take over the land, you know? Even when they do, it's certainly anywhere on par with what humans do. Take away humans off the planet, and there would be a lot more species that haven't gone extinct. There would be a lot more land you could walk around on. You could navigate places without having fences in your way and having all these inventions that just pollute and destroy and chaos. Take away men off the planet, and it would be an oasis. This planet would be beautiful and grown up, and there'd be a ton of animals that wouldn't have been destroyed and hunted to extinction. And it's incredible. It's a interesting thing to be a part of, this life. So I hope that this helps, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. So I'll catch you on the next video. Alright, bye.